Hi everyone, welcome to Lab Report, where we live, love, lab.
Today we're going to be talking about exams, studying, all the tips and tricks we have for that. And we actually have, this is a topic that was requested to us. I think we should shout out.
Shout out Shaolin. Thank you so much for the recommendation.
So, we have a lot to say on this topic. We have endured almost 4 years of taking exams at Fordham, both LC and Rosehill. So we've learned a lot on how to navigate all of that. I guess we could first start off with just like our best study approaches and like what works the best for us.
Yeah, because they're very different. Like me and Talia study in a very, very different way.
Yeah. So as you listen to us talk about these things, make sure you keep it in mind that like what works for us may not work for you. This is just like ideas of how we decided to approach these classes, but the best possible thing you can do is start studying early so that you have enough time to figure out what works for you, and then try things out. Like if you're trying one thing and it's like, I feel like I'm not remembering anything, then switch it up. I guess I'll pass it to you to talk about how you study.
So how I study, which I had to kind of tweak as I started taking like more difficult classes, because it started to get to a point where it just like was impossible to do. But freshman and most of sophomore year, well, really just freshman year, how I got by with bio is, and I mentioned this in our first episode, but I literally would like go through my notes, my class notes, and also the slides, and I would just write everything out in my own handwriting and like, I don't know, use like my colors or whatever I wanted. But really for me, it's important that like I am writing it like physically with my own handwriting. And then I would just go through page after page and memorize it in chunks. Like I'd start with like 2 pages, then move on to the next 2, then the next 2, then the next 2. And then I would try once to go over everything like from memory. My roommate would hold my notebook, and from memory I would try and go through like my whole study guide from memory, or it's not even a study guide if it's like all the notes from class, so basically like all class notes, and then the parts that I would mess up on, I would like just go back and continue to like drill it into my head. And the reason it just started getting harder with each year is because, you know, obviously your classes get harder and there's just a lot more material. And also I just had less time. Like freshman year, I was only taking Calc 2 first semester.
Crazy.
I know, and very unnecessary. But apart from that, like bio was my only STEM class. So it was my only like really hard class, I guess. And so I was able to take the time to like start like 3-4 days before, and I would always give myself like 1 full day for memorization, because that was the most important part. You know, like I had to know that it was like in my brain and it stuck with me. So that was freshman year for me.
Yeah, my freshman year was very different. First off, because I was still getting the hang of time management, so I did not give myself that much time to study. I'm also not a very big like look at it and like absorb it kind of person. I need a lot of repetition, and like I need things to kind of like prompt me to remember things, whether it's like images or colors or like a lot of movement and stuff, which is why I like to watch videos. Or like my biggest thing was flashcards. So I always had my Quizlet. I was that kid who would send the Quizlets to everyone.
Yeah, like 200 and something deck Quizlets would be sent around before each exam.
I'd always make a ton of Quizlets.
It was like a thing freshman year. I don't know if you know like Talia's Quizlets, like
who
has access to Talia's Quizlets. And like first semester, me and Talia weren't friends, so I didn't have access to them. But like I heard about them, and then second semester when we became lab partners, I started getting them.
Which to say, I wasn't gatekeeping my Quizlets. I need to clear that up. It was like, if I was friends with you and I had your contact, it was like, yeah, I'll share my Quizlet with you. But it was like,
you were very nice about sharing.
Yeah, if we weren't talking, I wasn't going to be like, oh, hey,
Like,
Quizlet.
I knew about it because Emma, like, she got your Quizlet.
Oh yeah, because we were friends. We were friendly.
Yeah, for a semester.
Yeah.
And I just had no idea. Like, we didn't talk.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just to put it out there, I am not a gatekeeper. That's why we're doing this podcast. But yeah, I'd make my Quizlets, and then what I would do is I would go through them one round, star everything I didn't know, and then I would keep going through the starred until there was no starred left. Another big thing I realized almost immediately was I need to use a whiteboard. I don't even know how I figured that out. I just like, oh, I do know how I figured it out. I went to Dr. Rodenas' office hours one day because I was like, you know what, this is a resource, I should use it. And
first and last time you went to office.
Like, seriously, I was quaking. Gosh, I was shaking and like sweating so much because I sat down and she was like, okay, explain this. And she just gave me like a marker and told me to do it on the little whiteboard in her office. And I was not expecting that at all. So obviously I didn't know a lot. And then she went in with a different color and corrected it. And at this point, like, you could probably see the sweat stains on my shirt. But after that, I was like,
been there.
No, yeah, it was intense. And as scary as it was, I would still recommend you guys do it at least once. But after that, I went and bought myself a whiteboard. I got a bunch of cool colors, and I would just write everything out. And it worked really well for Dr. Rodenas' class and even Dr. Luckett's because it's a lot of, like, regurgitation of information and, like, writing out whole narratives or whole, like charts and stuff like that. So to be able to write it out and then erase it right away, especially in different colors, is so helpful. So I'd say those are the two things I really stuck with: whiteboards and flashcards. The only catch is that didn't really translate to sophomore year.
Yeah. Wait, well, one thing I'll also say about freshman years, I didn't really do this a lot freshman year, but now being a TA and seeing, just like what they're doing in class right now, and also because we took physio last year and neuroscience, and we like relearn a lot of things that we learn in bio just in a lot more detail. And one thing I will say that helps a lot with any teacher, and any teacher will appreciate if you do this on an exam rather than like write things out, is if you draw it out too and add commentary to it. Like, and that helps you also so much to remember because it's like a picture. And then like as you're drawing the picture, if you don't even remember certain things, you're like, oh wait, but like I remember that there was something on like this part of the picture that like I should, I should label. And especially because, like, for Gen Bio, they're doing, like, this plant and the stomata and the osmosis and diffusion, and seeing that quiz
Rip
question.
Gen Bio students.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I'm sorry, but, like, yeah, but seeing it, how certain students answered, like, when you're drawing the actual picture, it helps you so much know that, like, phlegm is going this way. Or is that what it's called?
Phylum? Yeah.
Phlegm. I didn't take Gen Bio, okay? I didn't take Gen Bio. It's xylem. It's, what is it again? Phylum?
Phylum. Girl, we're probably saying the wrong thing. And so I'm sure the Gen Bio kids know what we mean.
Okay. I never learned that, so
you did not do quiz.
I'm sorry. But just, like, drawing it out, I feel like helps a lot, and especially for me, it helped so much with the urinary tract. Is that what it is?
Yeah, where it's like the whole like yes,
Lupa Henley. Exactly. Because like it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like what is happening at each of these places, especially with anatomy and things like that. It really helps to draw it out. Just anything like biophysics, draw the circuit. Like action potential, draw it out. That's what's gonna help you is the graph. Yeah, anatomy, draw everything out.
Yeah.
Like, and teachers really appreciate it. That's what, I think that's, like, the easiest for them to grade is because then they see, like, your thought process, too, and they see that, like, you're visualizing it and trying to understand it, too. So even if you don't have, like, all the information there, the picture can help, like, fill in the gaps for your teachers.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
The only teacher I probably wouldn't advise that for is Dr. Luckett because she has a lot of very scary rules about staying on the line.
Yeah.
or staying within the space that
That's
she
true.
requires. But otherwise, I would completely agree with you.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's also because Dr. Luckett like gives very like strict directions too. Like
yeah.
most other teachers give more open-ended questions.
No, that's very true. Which, pro tip, if you're taking Dr. Luckett, read the directions.
Yeah.
You cannot skip those. You need to read the directions.
Everything.
Always. Like, twice. But yeah, no, that's a fantastic piece of advice. And I think that also kind of plays into how to study for a lot of like later courses like chem and orgo. Like there, you really can't get away from just doing practice of like drawing and like practice problems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the flashcards and like the whiteboard only take you but so far. There comes a point where you just have to kind of like redraw things over and over and do practice problems over and over. Like you have to make sure you're flexible in how you approach your studying, because the way you did it freshman year is not always going to translate to the way you study sophomore and junior year too.
Yeah, but like there are classes that are more theory based,
That's
and then
true.
there are classes that are more like problem solving based, like bio, physio, neuroscience. Those were all like I guess like theory based classes. Versus chem, orgo, most comp sci classes are all problem solving based classes. So for those classes, I would always like make a study guide, but it wouldn't be like a study guide. It would just be like rules to remember, you know, especially for like orgo, you know, there's certain rules you need to remember. So I would just do rules to remember, and then my teachers were always very good. Me and Talia took a different chemistry class, but my chemistry teacher was amazing. I took the PCS class. Jason Polazar was very difficult still, but he gave us a lot of resources to help us with exams. Like he gave us like 3 practice exams before every exam, and like the homeworks for every week were like 3 quizzes of like 20 questions, and they were all like related to what the exam was going to be on.
Wow.
So yeah, and if teachers don't give you those resources, like you find them. There's so many online.
And I feel like sometimes too, like you don't even realize it, but like there's a lot of resources hidden within like their lectures or like the textbook, and they may not like outright say to use them, but it's like if you utilize them correctly, they could still give you a lot of insight into how they test. Like Thomas, for example, if you do the practice problems that she goes over in class, her exams are very much similar to those. And like just practicing those over and over and practicing the textbook over and over would be enough to kind of give you an idea of what you need to know. So I feel like for the most part, you'll always have a resource, whether or not they give it to you outright, or you kind of have to seek it out.
Yeah,
in
I've
their
always
material.
like I've never been a fan of using the textbook. I've never in any class I've taken, I've never used a textbook. So I just find it very difficult. I'm not the type of learner that like I have very poor reading comprehension too, which is crazy because I love to read. Like I read so much for pleasure outside of school, but when it comes to like reading anything in an academic sense, whether it's a history class, a philosophy class, science class, I'm very, very bad with reading comprehension, so I never turned to the textbook. It just confused me even more. If I wasn't understanding something in class, I would search it up, like through videos, 1,000%. And yeah, what's the guy's name? Like the chem tutor, organic chem tutor.
Organic chem tutor?
Yeah. Him.
No,
I
that's
used him a
real.
lot. And then the 2-minute neuroscience videos, I use those.
See, I'm a big textbook person, which I know most people aren't, because it's very like dense
That's
and
not
like
true.
convoluted.
I feel like it's very 50-50.
You think so?
A lot of people use the textbook, yeah.
Well, that said, the way I approach it is I feel like there's a strategy to it, unless you have all the time in the world to read it, like piece by piece. I usually go to the back of the chapter, read the summary, and if there's a topic I know doesn't make sense, then I go back and find it and actually read up on it. They do that. Most textbooks have a little summary or like key points to know at the end of the chapter. So instead of reading the whole thing, I just go through those bullets, see what I know, and then go back and read it.
That's also why I don't like reading the textbook, and why like I will get so stressed out sometimes studying for exams, is because I'm super bad at like telling myself what's important and what's not important. Like, even if I'm going through slides and I'm like, I know we're not going to be tested on this, there's always like a little voice in my head being like, no, but she might throw in like this trick question. And like, I still write it out and like spend a lot of time on writing out like unnecessary things, which is a balance I'm still trying to find. But that's why I don't go to the textbook, is because I tried it for neuroscience, and I think like it was for the final maybe. I tried it out and I spent 1.5 days doing the cerebellum, like just the cerebellum, because I was going through like line by line, like trying to understand.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like it's a gaming system to figure out what to actually review, and even then it's like it's hard to figure it out. Like, I completely understand that, like,
it is.
It's not everyone's thing. But we're both sitting here in our senior year, so clearly whatever we're doing works. So that's even more reason, like we said, figure out what works for you.
Yeah, because like you're just not gonna, like, I don't know how I figured it out. I think I just tried it and it worked. But yeah, and then I remember for one of the physio exams, I actually tried to shift because I understood the material pretty well, and I thought it could be a good idea to like type up certain things. Like, I just used my notes from class because I had pretty good notes from class. And Dr. Rodanis for physio, this was the only class she did this for. I don't know if she's like switched and does it for every class now, but she had kind of like a document of like questions everyone should know for each unit for physio, which is the first time she ever did that for like one of our classes. And what I did is, for one physio exam, I just went through those questions and like typed out the answers, and I was feeling really confident about what I knew, and I still feel pretty confident about it, but I just like, it wasn't how I normally study. You know, I didn't write everything out like I normally do, and I should have done that, because that was the worst grade I've ever gotten on a Rodanis exam, which is crazy. Like, in all of my 3 years, this was my third Rodanis class I took, and the last one I got my worst grade on exam. So it still happens even if you're a junior, you know, even if you're a second semester junior, it happens. But that's just like to show that everyone has their own type of study method that works for them, and you kind of just have to find it and stick with it.
So true.
Wait, I want to find like examples
of your notes. Okay, while you find them, I'm just going to give a PSA. This week I had 2 exams. I had a biochem exam.
Yeah, I did too.
Yes, we both had 2 exams.
So
she
special.
had it worse.
You're so special.
Okay, well, I had a biochem exam on Monday, and I had a cognitive neuroscience exam on Friday. And unfortunately, I did not do very well budgeting my time, so I pulled all-nighters for both. And it is the next week, and I am still half asleep. Yes, so first thing is I would like to apologize for saying I retired from taking all-nighters, because I did not.
She will never retire.
I probably won't.
She will never retire.
Second is, once again, do not pull all-nighters. It is not worth it.
Oh, shit. Okay, wait, I'll find something else. But I remember that I went back to paper for my physio final.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, also something I will say is try and make your own, like, if they don't give you a diagram or show you a diagram, try and make it. If something isn't, like, sticking in your brain because it's so much, then just try and make a diagram for it. Like, okay, wait, how do I show this?
Right here. The lens.
Okay. Let's see. I can't believe I had to know all of this. Like, this is, what is this even? The circuit of the cerebellum. So, okay, wait, you can't even see it.
I could also insert an image.
Okay,
so. Or no, you can see it really well, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
see, so it starts from the cerebral cortex. And I just remember I had a very, very hard time, like, remembering where it was. Oh. Where's my iPad? Where it was going from I could stop showing it now, but where it was going, like from what area to what area, because that is just like pure memorization. You know, there's not even a lot of when it comes to like the details of neuroanatomy and just anatomy in general. It gets to the point where it doesn't really have to do with like understanding. You know, it's just like memorizing. It goes from the cerebral cortex to pontine nuclei, and then mossy fibers, and then synapse onto granule cells, and that's the granule cell layer. You know, like it's not even about understanding. It's about like pure memorization of these very specific type of neurons and cells.
Yep.
And I just had like mossy fibers look like little stars for me, and you know, so similar to Talia, like drawing it out, use colors and
Yeah,
things.
you use a lot of colors.
Yeah, I just different figures. If something is just not clicking, like make up a little drawing for it, make up a little song, make up a little mnemonic.
Yeah, and that touches on a really good point of how like I think we're both very visual learners, like the whole writing and color coding and stuff, but not everyone's like that. Like there's a lot of people where like they need to hear it, they need to watch videos and then like speak it back to people, or what are the learning styles? It's like visual, auditory, and I don't remember the other one.
I don't know if because I think reading is different, but I don't know what that falls under.
Right. But yeah, there's a lot of different learning styles, learning styles. Yeah. So, once again, you just really have to try everything out, and that just goes to show like it really is worth it to like give yourself time to prepare, because you don't want to be figuring out the day before that you should have been studying a different way, and then you just like threw away a whole grade. Yeah.
Also, as Talia mentioned, we did have 2 exams last week. We're in different biochemistry classes, so mine, unfortunately, were on the same day. Last Friday was a brutal day for me, and even I went against some of my, I didn't pull an all-nighter, but I was up until, I think, 4 the night before both those exams, and that is, like, a big no-no. Like, I'm just... when you're sleep deprived, your memory recall is worse, you're more emotional, just you feel like shit, like sleep, guys, it really, and I think I could have done so much better in both my exams, or at least felt better about it, if I had slept more. And also, I don't think... we both, I can't really speak on you, but I didn't feel very good about either of those exams. Even though I didn't feel like the exams were very difficult, I just felt that I didn't prepare in the way that, like, was expected, or, like, I didn't prepare in the right way for those exams. And that's another thing that you have to remember is, like, don't be hard on yourself about first exams, because every teacher tests in such a different way. And you just, even if they're like, oh, we're going to have these multiple choices, all of this stuff, you're never going to know exactly how they're going to test you until you get to the first exam. So my first exams are always some of my worst ones, even if they're easy exams. It just really has to do with the way the teacher's testing you.
And, like, in line with that, make sure you advocate for yourself and, like, you're vocal with your needs when it comes to a class. Like, if you need a professor to provide you a study guide or, like, give you more guidance on, like, how to prepare, please ask them for that, because you don't want to have to guess how they're going to be testing and then have that first exam be a lot harder than it had to be. Most of your professors would be willing to give you, like, an outline of some sort, or at least go over, like, what topics to focus on.
Especially Dr. Rodenas, like, you really have to ask her and grill her about what's going to be on that exam.
Yeah, you see it's, like, 50 to 70 slides per lesson, and then, like, 6 lessons.
And it's all just, like, and Dr. Rodenas' exams are just free response. So there's really, like, nothing she really says or gives you.
And it doesn't even end there. Like, even in my biochem class, we had, like, 70 slides. It was like 900 pages total to know, and we had to ask him for an outline to, like, really narrow it down.
Actually, I was studying with Ozra recently, and this is a new method to studying that I've never seen anyone do. Maybe you do, I don't think you do. But after that, I started like getting TikToks about it, and I realized that a lot of people do it, is they either read things out loud or repeat something back to themselves in an accent.
Oh,
Yes.
I've never heard of that.
I know, right?
Do you think it works better for people who actually speak another language, or do you think it just works in general because it's so silly? Like,
no, yeah, exactly, because it's so
That's
silly. Like,
sick.
she was doing it in a British accent, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so that also works. I've never tried that, but I feel like it sounds like it could work.
It makes sense for why it would.
Yeah, so you could try that out too, like, say, repeating something back to yourself in a different accent.
That's really cool.
I
I've
know,
also seen
right?
one where it's like if you're reading something or like going through flashcards, if you use your other hand and just draw random shapes on your page, it's like the movement of doing the writing like helps it
just
stick
like,
or helps you focus better.
Or draw circles. But the only reason why I haven't tried that is because we have so much to memorize.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like my hand would just go limp, like, after, like, an hour, you know?
That's fair. I also, because I'm using my hands between, like, the whiteboard or, like, it doesn't make sense for me either. But I'm sure it works for many people. Mm-hmm.
Also, what's great about bio that you don't really get in classes the higher you go, well, depending on classes and teachers, is the quizzes. Like, very much use the quizzes to help you study because that gives you a little bit of insight in how you're going to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
So use the quizzes, draw things out, try and make it fun. Like, seriously, just try and make it fun. I know studying sucks and is super boring, but
you can study, make the most of it.
Study. Also, what's really important to figure out is if you study better collaboratively, if you study better with someone there, or if you just study better alone. Because personally, I'm someone who, like, I don't like to study, like, with someone. Like, I don't want to, like, go through information together. But I do really like having someone there who's, like, also studying and going through the same thing. So I know that, like, oh, if I start freaking out about something, then they're also freaking out because, you know, they're doing the same, they're experiencing the same thing as me. And also it helps me procrastinate less because, like, if I want to go on my phone or something and then I see someone in front of me, like, actually studying and I'm like, no, I shouldn't go on my phone. Like, I should keep studying. So I prefer to study, like, in the same space as someone, but not, like, collaboratively. And sometimes I will ask her to silent Zoom with me, which she still has not done.
Because we operate at different schedules. I'm a night owl.
Yeah, like, I will think, like, being a night owl is, like, studying from, like, 11 to 1. And then, like, I get a text from Talia at, like, 12:30, like, hey, I'm down to start studying now if you are. I'm like, I've been studying.
Yeah.
I've been studying, so.
But yeah, in that vein, make sure, like we said, give yourself enough time to know how you study and pivot. And don't feel like if you don't operate like someone else, you need to operate like them because you know what's best for you. Oh, I think it'd be fun to kind of end out talking about the practicals because I've had a lot of people very scared and asking me what they entail because they just heard we're moving tables and we have to answer questions. So yeah, no, they're actually really fun. It's not as scary as it sounds. I mean, it was intense. It was really intense because basically there's 16 questions, a question per, like, seat at the table, and you have, like, 90 seconds to answer it. Which, because it's so short, don't expect long questions. It's going to be, like, identifying something under the microscope or, like, answering a true or false or, like, giving, like, a quick difference between two things. You're never going to be expected to do, like, a whole lot. That said, it's really intense because you have so little time to do it and, like, you're obviously in your head about it. You hear people, like, scribbling and, like, dropping their pencils and stuff. Dr. Lookit made it extra scary because it was, like, oh, like, if your phone rings during it or, like, if something like that happens, like, you're losing points. I remember that used to freak me out a lot because I'd be like, oh, is my phone off? Did I put everything away?
I know, she's crazy like that.
Yeah.
She's crazy like that. She really likes to scare you.
Yeah. But it's not that bad. I don't know if I have any tips about how to best approach it.
My tip is that is why, you know, when it gets to the day before the exam and if you feel like you haven't gone over all the material, just start memorizing. Just start memorizing what you've gone over, and then if you have leftover time, just go over the rest of your material and try and do the best you can with that, because when it gets to the practical, like, you don't have time to think, you know? Like, you're sitting there and it has to, like, you read a question and the first thing that pops into your head, you write it down. Like, there's no time to, like, really think about your notes. And because what I would do is, like, I'd be like, oh, there's this question. That question is, like, page 5 on my notes towards the bottom. And then I would go, like, and be like, okay, towards the bottom, that's where I was talking about, like, lipids and phospholipids, and then what's below phospholipids and blah, blah, blah. So it took me, like, kind of a while to, at least, like, maybe a minute, to really, like, identify my answer and the information in my brain when I was, like, during these exams. But the practical, you don't get that time, so it has to be, like, immediate. Like, you see it and, like, you immediately write your answer down. You can't second guess yourself. You can't be like, oh my god, is that wrong? Because even at the end, you have time to, like, go to certain stations that you felt that you didn't have the answer. Like, there's, like, what, like, I think 2 minutes at the very end. But you don't know, what if everyone's going to that same station, you know? Like, you don't actually have time. So memorization is huge for the biopractical exams.
Also, like, it's better to look at the real deal than your drawings. I'm sure a lot of you are fantastic artists in your notebooks, but it's better to look up the microscope slide or, like, look up the actual structure or go to open lab, because that's what you're actually going to be seeing.
Yeah, take pictures of the microscope.
Pictures are big.
Which I've been seeing all of my students doing, so.
Great. I've also been seeing my students do that. I hope you other students are doing that as well. And if not, please reach out to your friends or Google it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, you do not want to be going off of a beautiful image. I'm sure it's beautiful. Image that you drew.
Well, especially with microscopes.
Yeah, it's like, because usually you're going to be identifying a structure, and if you didn't draw that structure properly, you're out of luck.
Yeah, and especially when going through the anatomy section, like, I didn't have an iPad at that point.
Oh, yeah, we were late to the iPad game.
I know, we were late to the iPad. Biggest blessing ever, to be honest. I fucking love my iPad. However, obviously, we survived all our hardest classes without it, so it's not a necessity at all. But for the anatomy one, I think I spent so much money printing shit out, but I printed, like, the pictures of the pigs. I printed, oh my god, I remember, this is actually a funny story.
Okay, go for it.
I was in the library, like, you know, and the pictures were pretty brutal. Like, it's this pig that's mutilated, you know, fully, like, jaw cracked open, like, insides are all out there, and I think I printed, like, 15 pictures of, like, different parts so I could label it, so I could, like, see it in real time instead of obviously drawing it, because how the fuck am I going to draw all of that? And there was a girl standing in front of me to use the printer, and I was like, I think mine printed either at the same time as hers, or, like, maybe mine went through and hers didn't, and she's just, like, going so confidently up to look at her paper, and she, like, picks the paper up and literally screams and jumps back. Like, she was like, ah! Like, dropped the paper. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. That's mine. It's for class. Like, I'm so sorry. But, yeah.
That's really...
Yeah, subject 1.
I think pigs are your finals, so you don't have to worry about that for the midterm. They're so fun.
I know.
I love the pigs.
Or there 2 people named the pigs in my class, because this is when we were still in different lab classes. And only 2 groups. One was Harry, because apparently they liked Harry Styles, and also... Yeah, and also because the pig itself was really hairy, this fetal pig.
Yeah.
And then ours, mine and Lily's was subject 1, because we didn't want to get emotionally attached.
That's crazy. I think our class had like a Peppa.
That's awful.
Yeah,
That's really awful.
We did Charlotte from Charlotte's Web.
That's awful. Like, why are you doing that? This is why I did subject one, because, like, why are you doing these, like, really
like,
endearing
pet
Yeah,
names?
exactly.
Yeah.
Also, like, Peppa Pig. Like, I watched that shit when I was, what, like, 3 or 4 years old? Like, I grew up on that shit, and I'm there, like, cutting into her. Same with, Charlotte from Charlotte's Web. Like, that's awful.
Yeah.
I'm not a psycho like that.
It's okay. We were. Also, you'll never have to do anything for the practical. Like, you don't have to go in and, like, cut something open or, like, make a slide. The most you might have to do that I've seen was, like, focus a slide under the microscope, but even then, it's not too bad.
That is, I feel like that's only because, like, someone fucked it up before you.
Dr. Rupert did a part last year where you had, like, a
Okay,
minute
Dr.
to
Rupert is
focus
also
a
really
slide.
big on the microscope.
That's true. So I think only if you have Dr. Rupert you have to worry about that. Otherwise,
Sorry, y'all.
I've never seen a teacher make you demonstrate something during a practical.
Yeah.
We do the first semester. You do the Hydra and the Daphnia, which is really fun.
Wait, but do they do that?
You set up a demo and they see it on the screen.
No, but I mean, like, does Gen Bio do that too?
Everyone does it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally, there's like this little guy called a Daphnia, and he's really fun looking. He's like brown, he has legs, and he's transparent, so you can see his whole circulatory system. And there's a Hydra, it's like a squid, and it has tentacles that can like freeze it. So we look at it on the big screen, and it just shows the Hydra stinging the Daphnia and then shoving it in its mouth. And the Hydra is also transparent, so you can see it slowly getting eaten.
I do remember this, but I'm laughing because we sound like such. It's really cool, like this little guy.
Bro, I don't know. It's like I love lab.
Live, love, lab. I love lab too.
Oh my gosh, that's how you know we're going into the right field. Because only we would be here talking about pigs. Like we cut open pigs. And, like,
yeah, I know. It's actually really cool.
Oh my gosh. With that, we should probably close out because we have class in like 10 minutes. Thank you guys for listening. We hope this provided some clarity on how to prepare for your exams and like that it's not as scary as it seems and it's very doable. You just have to kind of figure out what works best for you. With that, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And
I think it is as scary as it seems.
It is. It can be. But you can prepare yourself so that when you actually sit down for the exam, you're not scared. And also, if you guys liked this topic, make sure you like suggest more.
Yes, exactly, because as we said at the beginning, we are doing this episode based on a couple suggestions that I heard, in my class, and then Shaolin texted and DM'd to make sure we received the message, and here we are. So if you have other topics you want us to zero in on, please let us know.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see you guys next week. And bye. Good luck with your exams.
Yeah, good luck with exams, guys. You got it.